how did Australia become a thought? Well, now it
because that's just north of Raleigh. You know?
It's just a couple hours away.
It's just east or west of Raleigh.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for that first conversation because that language and accent barrier would be incredible. Welcome back to episode 30 of the Loggerhead Golf Podcast. It is Thanksgiving week, so happy holidays to everybody out there. And we've got our special guest, Kayla, this morning, the turtle golf ball girl, as we call her.
That's right.
So we'd like to welcome her. And Kayla's back from playing in the National Assistants Championship. So we're going to go into it with Kayla because she did something pretty awesome the last few weeks. So you want to dig into that?
Well, the last few weeks I've taken off, so that's
I was going to say.
fun. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, no. So stage one Q school, I got through it for the very first time, the end of August, and made it to stage 2 down in Venice, Florida, and did not play my best golf, but sometimes that happens. But played well enough.
Something about Florida.
What is it? But played well enough to earn Epson Tour status. So I'm looking forward to playing on the next level up, starting probably April or May.
Nice. So, because some of the viewers and listeners might not know what Q School is, can you explain a little bit about what Q School is?
Yeah, so Q School is qualifying school, short for qualifying school, where you go each year to earn your status for the following year. So each year your status is just for that 1 year. So you play well, you have the chance to maybe skip a level of that qualifying school, but you have to go back and earn status for the next year. So for girls who might not have had their full LPGA card, this is how you work to get that. Or if you had your card, didn't play well, you go back to re-earn it.
I do. Now, obviously, PGA Tour Q School, I don't even know why they call it PGA Tour Q School because it's Korn Ferry Q School now.
Right.
Do you get direct status from Q School now to the LPGA?
Yes. So on the girl side, it's still one Q School for Epson Tour and LPGA. Where it's different for guys.
Nice. Yeah.
So making it to stage 3, which is the ladies' final stage, is where you earn your LPGA card. So didn't make it there this year, but next year.
Keep chipping away at it.
That's
We're
right.
working our way up.
You already had some good success this year. And you kind of mentioned you had stage 1.
Yes. Yep. So before stage 1, I played in the South Carolina Women's Open, and honestly, it was a great tournament for many reasons. Got to be in the final group, post some good scores, but there was a lot of experience from that tournament that I was able to take and apply, especially the final round at stage 1. So the way stage 1 works is there's 3 different golf courses. You play 3 rounds, 1 on each golf course, and they cut because there's 300 girls there.
Yeah.
Jeez. And so you have to have that many courses to get all this in 4 days.
That many people.
So after you play your first 3 rounds, they cut to the final day. Well, I made the cut on the number and shot 72. Actually, I play a draw. But I hit 2 cuts down my last 2 fairways, right down the middle. I was like, well, maybe I need to be a fader. I mean, those were perfect. So made the number on the cut to play the final round. And I knew it was going to take at least 2 under to make it through stage 1. And I honestly just went back at the South Carolina Open. It's like, all right, it's one shot at a time. You can't force anything. You've just got to stay in the moment, hit the best shot you can, and see how we can string this together. And that's really how that day went. I mean, hit a lot of good shots early, but no putts were falling.
Yeah.
Came down, I made a birdie on my 17th hole, par 3, to get to 2 under.
Nice. And
then parred my last hole to shoot 70 and make it through. So it was really exciting.
Yeah.
I was super proud of that final round more than the whole accomplishment. Because as y'all know, and any golfer knows, to stick with it and stick with the process for 18 holes, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So I was proud of that.
What made you think, because you're usually draw all the time, what made you think to just hit cuts on those holes?
Yeah,
Was it just the holes, how they laid out?
Yes. So we actually played, we talked about this last time, and I said the wrong course.
Yeah.
It's where they had the old PGA Tour event, and it was super tight. Oh my! I mean, it's carved out on a mountain.
Oh, this is in the Palm Desert, right?
It was Indian Wells.
That's right.
Indian Wells is where we played. It was super tight, and so yes, there were holes they demanded a cut. Some demanded a draw. with driver.
Who was
Anthony
the
Wood.
course architect? Do you remember?
I'm not certain.
I think Indian Wells is Arnold Palmer.
Is it?
I'm
So it doesn't
pretty
sound-
sure.
I say usually Arnold Palmer's very open. I see describing it why it sounds like a Pete Dye.
Yeah. Well,
I think there is one course there.
I know they
that's
have
it.
a PGA West. There's a Dye course.
Yeah.
But
That's one with
making me
the
think of it.
crazy green on 17.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this was a real old school design from back in the day. But yeah. So my coach was caddying for me, and he goes, "You need to hit a cut." And honestly, if he had not been there, I think I would have tried to force a draw on a couple
Right.
holes where
Play
he
what
was
you
like,
know.
"No, trust the cut.
Yeah.
You can hit it."
That's the beauty of the game. It's really hard to go out of your comfort zone and to pull a shot off. But ultimately, that's the difference between a professional golfer and the rest.
Yeah.
It's knowing that when everything is essentially everything's on the table, right? Can you do it? And it sounds like golf swing wise, you were in a pretty good
Yeah.
frame to show up to a tournament and be able to work the ball both ways. Because
Yes.
we all know how hard it is. We're constantly working our swing to be able to do that. And sometimes you have it, and sometimes you don't. It's not like something that just magically happens.
Right.
So golf swing wise, were you pretty? I know you said coming from the South Carolina Open, but was your swing feels everything pretty good going into it?
It felt good, but we were, walking to the range afterwards and hitting some different shots. So while it was good and predictable, it wasn't perfect by no means. But when is it ever?
It never is.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that the more I hit cuts and the more I hit draws, and I'm working it both ways, the better I am. When I start going down that one path of draw, I start getting way too far off of like my center.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel the same way. Like I always haven't been a drawer of the ball. I'd almost say especially if I hit balls like practice, I always try to hit fades.
Yes.
And it's not so much so I can play them, but it's like to straighten out the draw.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that draw doesn't turn into a slinging hook.
Exactly. Which is
But-
sort of what happened at stage 2.
Yeah.
I was playing really good leading up. I was actually struggling with the flat stick.
Sounds familiar.
But
That
after
sounds exactly like-
we'll get into that.
after my first practice round, I go to the PGA Tour Superstore. I buy a putter. Putting problems were gone.
Why would you go there?
I
Just had to have something?
I had to have something.
Wow.
The 4 or 5 in my trunk just weren't cutting it. And I said, well, maybe
Maybe this one will be the
this
one.
one will. It worked. So well, there's a win.
What kind of putter?
It's a ping. It's already back in the closet.
Yeah.
The spider's
that's-
back in the bag. You know how it goes, golfers. But yeah, so kind of draw got away from me at stage 2. Was hitting it really good going down. This one shot would pop up, and I didn't honestly think much of it, but I was going from draw to hard draw to
I say before you know it, you're
Here's
aiming,
the hook.
you're aiming
Here
further
you
and further
are,
and
you're
further
Yeah,
right
I'm,
and just
I've got a
swinging it back.
boomerang coming
Yeah.
back at me.
That's tough to play. I've for the longest time was notorious trying to draw the ball. And I always felt like every time I was trying to overdraw it or just trying to hit a little draw, I eventually sit on that back foot and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
face just slams shut and that ball's slinging.
Yep.
But now I've fully, just because of how much I hate that shot, I'm notorious fade.
Yep.
And sometimes that fade is still a pull draw. I joke about it all the time. When I hit a draw with my driver, it's usually a 2-yard fade, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to draw it. But it's really tough to do, because it's something that if you always had that shot to lean on, and then that shot goes bad, especially in a tournament, that's,
Yeah.
But it sounds like even because we were following your scores through stage 2. So it seems like even with that going on, you held it together pretty good.
Yeah, I just felt like I was hitting a 30-yard slice to hit it straight down the fairway.
Yeah. That's never comfortable.
That tells you how far off we were. But
It happens.
But yeah, so I'm actually tinkering around this off season with playing more fades, seeing
Okay.
if maybe that's going to help me stay a little more neutral, so I
Yeah.
don't get to that slinging hook. So here lately, playing with the guys and everything, if I'm uncomfortable or if it calls, unless it calls explicitly for a draw, I'm trying to hit a little fade.
Right.
So
Try to hit
far,
that-
it's been good.
Try to hit that fairway finder.
Yep.
Well, I guess it ties in. You said you're going to kick it off in April with Edson.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got some time to prepare. So what's kind of like this off season look like for you?
So Epson starts in April.
Okay.
Or that's my expectations. Right now, I've got a couple more things to work out, but I'm headed to Australia for 2 months to play January and February down there.
Holy
so it's
cow.
always a challenge to find warm weather here. Sometimes, I mean, even in the Carolinas, it's really mild, but it's hard to get good sessions in.
Yeah, consistent.
Yep. So, based on my status, my goal is to come out the gate strong. If I can come out the gate strong in the first couple Epson events I get in, I can reshuffle to full status and set a schedule for the remainder of the year. Well, in order to do that, I want to try some things to finish out November, December with. Take that, play tournaments January, February. Great tournaments over there. It's like the LPGA for the Australians.
Oh yeah.
So it's a great tour, great courses, and just start there and go, okay, how is this working? Trying to put more of a fade into the bag instead of leaning so heavily on my draw.
You're going to see it
And
in
then sort of-
competition.
Exactly. And then be able to reevaluate and have time to work on some things for April to start. So that is the off season.
Are the tournaments in the
schedule.
sand belt?
They're everywhere. So I start in
okay.
Brisbane.
Yeah.
I'm in Melbourne for 3 weeks, and I finish up in Sydney.
Okay.
So we're
I
gonna
would
see it all.
love to be a fly on the wall for that first conversation because that language and accent barrier would be incredible.
That's how did Australia become a thought? Well, now it.
Because that's just north of Raleigh. You know?
Yeah, it's just, it's just a couple hours away.
It's just east or west of Raleigh.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm going to leave January 3rd and arrive January 5th, so that's quite a long flight.
Yeah.
But no, so there's been several girls who have gone over and played. South Africa's another tour, but it's a little more dangerous
Especially
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
than the Aussies. So, I mean, beautiful weather. I've always wanted to go. Side note, I'm really excited because I'm going to be there when the Australian Open's going on.
I was going to ask if you would be there then.
Oh, absolutely. So we're actually off that week.
Right.
So, the tennis tournament's 2 weeks. But the first week, let's see, I've got a ground pass. I've got, we're going to John Cain Arena one day, and I'm going to catch a night session in Rod. So super excited.
Wow. That sounds like a fun trip. I mean, do you know some of the other girls that are going?
I have a friend who's going with me. She also plays, so we're going to tag team and go over.
They'll definitely cut expenses too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she went last year, so she sort of knows the ropes, so I'm just going to tag along.
Tag along.
I'm following you.
Show me where to go.
Yep.
Exactly.
So leading into kind of like you talk about, you're experimenting with the fade, right? Have you thought about tweaking your driver setup to set up the fade? Or are you trying to do it mostly swing and then
Honestly,
play
it's
what feels good?
working well with swing right now.
Yeah.
So my driver's an 8-degree driver, lofted up to an 875 to give me that little bit of draw bias. Honestly, I set up and just go. Yesterday I was playing with the guys, and one of the most beautiful fades I think I've hit since I've started back playing. I was like, wow. I don't think the equipment, I need to change anything equipment wise. You guys have got me dialed in with that. It's mainly just me swinging it.
I said it's honestly probably just getting you more square in your setup.
Yeah,
more than
the
anything.
big thing is like for me, my coach goes, swing down your shoulder line.
Yeah.
If I swing down my shoulder line with the fade,
Yeah.
it's starting left and cutting
Just
back.
falling to the right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's always because a lot of people don't know this. They always think that if you fade the ball, faders like to have an open driver face. Well, majority of the time you see a little bit of the opposite because they, no matter what, they want that ball starting slightly left,
Yeah.
Right.
They don't want to see the block fade because that means you're stuck inside still somehow, some way, you
Yep.
know, and that's why I was just wondering if you're changing some things, if you're kind of doing that. So even though your driver's moved up a little bit, which shuts the face a touch, that's, you see a lot of better golfers do that, even if their one shot with a driver is a fade.
Yeah.
Now, I would say, quick question for the two of you: how hard is it putting in tournaments? Would you say?
Well, it's totally different than putting in a normal round of golf.
Explain why.
There's a different expectation.
Yeah.
In a casual, friendly round of golf, you want to make the putt. So you can beat your buddies and win your bet. But in a tournament round of golf, you need to make the putt. And my mom will be proud of me for saying this. I was always told as a kid, your wants won't hurt you. You know? It's like your wants don't hurt you when you're playing a casual round of golf, but in a tournament round of golf, you need to make the putt. That's the difference.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your tournament this past weekend with that, because I know you've already told us kind of before we started the pod that the putter let you down a little bit, but
It was not much to really talk about, honestly.
Forrest Gump over there. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. I mean, I went down there, I saw it, and I came home. You know, that's kind of about all there was. But no, I had going into the tournament. Quite honestly, I probably hadn't played or practiced enough going into it, but I've been hitting the ball pretty well, so I wasn't too worried about that. And I even kind of mentioned before I left, the one thing I was worried about was putting. I feel like I'm rolling the ball good, you know, but just nothing's going in. I'd been playing some rounds of golf where I felt like I'd knocking flag sticks down and couldn't make anything, right? So I was kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say worried about that, but was conscious of that. And pretty much what happened in the tournament. I mean, I hit the ball really well, and my scores wouldn't reflect how well I hit the ball. But I putted like a blind man, you know, quite
and
literally.
Stevie Wonder out there.
Huh?
You and Stevie Wonder out there.
And I mean, it's not like I was pulling like approach putts or longer putts. It's not like I was pulling or pushing or anything. I was starting them on my line, but for whatever reason, the ball's not going in. So it's either I'm not reading the putt correctly, or my speed's not right, or something. There's some breakdown.
I mean, usually it goes read, speed, line.
Yeah.
Right.
Something.
You can have a perfect read, you can have perfect speed, but if that ball doesn't start on line.
But so I feel like it's starting on the line I'm choosing.
Yeah.
So, you know? So it's like, how do you work on that? How do you change that? I don't know. That's where I'm lost at right now. But and then once you start, you know, missing some putts, you start pressing a little bit more, so other things start to go away.
Oh, yes.
And that kind of ties it, because when you see relatively high scores in professional events, obviously the event that Kayla played in, the National Assistants Championship, it's like you have to qualify from your section to make it here. So everyone played really good golf to get there.
Everyone's played a tournament, had a good performance in a tournament to get to that.
But it's always really tough when you see those high scores, it's easy to just say he played bad. Well, it's very easy to make a big number, then everything else after that, you're pushing
correct. Yeah.
You essentially have your foot on the gas. You're like, we're going to try to save it. And if not, you're going to go down swinging.
Right.
You know, was there a point in maybe like that first round? I mean, because back nine, you started on the back nine.
So I started on 10.
It sounded like you had one bad hole. Then you kind of tied it together. Then you made that birdie on 10, you know, where you essentially at that point, like, all right, let's go. Like,
correct. Yeah. I was going to say, like, and really, like, I made a triple bogey on my fourth hole.
But it was like...
But I got it. It was so super windy. I mean, the wind was blowing sustained 20 miles an hour, you know. And
Florida.
Yeah,
East
right.
coast of Florida, I should say. West Coast is way better.
With some gust up to, like, in the 30s. And so, started out strong. I mean, I hit a good tee shot on the first hole, hit the green, lipped out the putt. Go to this next hole, it's par 3, hit a good tee shot. I mean, it was a 180-yard shot. I played it 210.
Ooh. Oh,
you know, and hit it to about 18 feet there, lipped out that putt for birdie. Third hole, hit a good tee shot, good approach with a wedge, had about 15 feet, lipped that putt out. So I've hit every green, you know, the first 3 holes, struck the ball well, and just didn't make anything. The fourth hole is a par 5. It's the longest par 5 on the golf course. It's like 560, but playing into that 20-mile-an-hour wind is playing at probably 650 in reality. But hit a good tee shot right down the middle of the fairway. I'm at that, I was 275 out. And so I was like, well, I'm going to hit 3-wood. There's crossing bunkers. I wanted to hit 3-wood over those bunkers so I could have a little flip wedge into the green. Because quite honestly, to me on that hole, the layup, especially with the wind direction into and left to right, there's nothing but water. There's a canal to the right. So the layup's a lot tighter and a lot more trouble. Like if I start that ball down the fairway and the wind starts blowing it right, I'm in a hazard. I was like, if I can just blast 3-wood over the bunkers, it's a lot easier position. And in the practice wind, in the practice round, it was the same wind, and I was in the same spot in the fairway, hit 3-wood into the front left bunker from there. So I was like, that'll be fine. And smoked a 3-wood, got stood up into the wind, and came down short of the bunkers. So I had like a 100-yard loss of distance on the second shot. And then, so now I'm in the rough between bunkers and a kind of funky lie. And I just watched the 2 playing partners, they hit their third shots and the wind just ate it up and threw their ball down really short. So I was like, I'm going to hit a little hooded wedge shot in there. Hooded it straight through the wind into the back bunker, on the downslope, plugged. Got no chance. Triple bogey. So that's just kind of, compounding errors, basically. And then, from there, I was like, well, you hit good shots. You just got a bad break. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. But you feel like you're hitting the ball well, you can get it back. And no putts ever fail to get it back. So, yeah.
It's a tough game.
Yep.
I mean, but if you don't, I mean, you said you ran to a superstore to find a putter. I mean, so if we feel like we're doing our job tee to green, and then you're not making putts,
that's the hardest thing.
It's the most deflating thing in golf
because you do so much work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how often do you hear this, Kyle?
A lot.
Yeah.
One of my juniors that I work a lot with, who's qualified for his national tournament 3 years in a row. His dad was pretty brutal about it. He's so mentally fatigued from practicing putting so much because he's hitting, an average of 80% of his greens in regulation, and he's averaging 32 putts a round. So when you're at that level, that doesn't get the job done.
Hit it closer. I'm kidding.
Yeah. You can only do that so much,
Well, there's a lot of people going around saying the whole play better,
Yeah.
Well, and I think the issue with the play...
Nicky's like, just hole it out.
Yeah. Just make it for
Forget
140.
I mean,
it's always an option.
I think the issue with the play better statement is realistically, Scotty Scheffler would be the best example for the play
100%.
better.
Yeah.
First in strokes gain everything, and then nothing with putter.
I'd say he's like 120 with putter.
So, it can kind of go back to just sometimes you just have to change it up. But a lot of people, and this is just like my opinion, which could mean anything to nobody, but they try to change it up to something so opposite that it does more damage than good.
Right.
As they try to find such an extreme instead of sticking to what they know, like, sure, the putts aren't going in, but at the same token, before you had that bad putting round, that putter and that putting stroke got you to the point to even play in that tournament. Like, you played good golf leading up to it. So why would you navigate so far away from what you know just to try to create something new?
Because it's time to try something different.
Yeah. So, that's what I see a lot.
What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to break that cycle,
Yeah. So I think it's sometimes just going back to the basics and fundamentals as you're warming up can sometimes, we often forget that basics are basics for a reason.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, to that point, I don't have a face bounce putter and a toe hang putter and a plumber's neck and a slant neck. All my putters are mallets with that slant neck that hang at a 45 or slightly less.
Mm-hmm.
They're just different looks.
Yeah, you're just going to
and
get different
feels.
visuals. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
But fundamentally, they're pretty much the same putter.
Yeah. No,
I know
100%.
I don't need to go to a plumber's neck blade when my spider's not working or the Scotty, like, JT has, isn't working. It's the look or the feel, and that's what that ping putter did for me. It just gave me a little better feel. So I feel like when my putting goes south, it's a tempo thing. Mm-hmm. The more I want to make the putt, the slower I get going back and through as I'm trying to guide it and make it, instead of just stroking it and hitting it and letting it go and let the results take care of itself. So that ping putter sort of allowed me to feel like I could let it go a little more.
You're essentially freeing yourself up.
Exactly.
It's funny you say that because, like, for me, I would say the more I want to hit a putt, the more I'm likely to hit it.
Over accelerate through impact.
Oh, yeah.
Not you.
We need to blend.
Yeah,
our game a
I
little
know.
bit.
Get that pop stroke going, and it's
Hell,
going.
Captain
Well, I mean,
Short's
that's
team.
that's exactly why I've built a slightly longer putter. Is I just wanted the putter to swing. I always felt like with shorter putters, regular length like 35, I got two over and I got too mechanical, so my speed was always terrible.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm just going to build a longer putter and just sling it, essentially. Now, obviously, same thing. It's a mallet, no barely any toe hang, so it's not made to move all over the place, but still does.
I think that's what's and
Still does.
We'll talk about it at a later date, but I was out in Phoenix at Ping last week, and I think that was, while we're on putting, the most fascinating thing is just between material and what type of milling pattern, like what we were discussing earlier. I mean, based off just milling alone, how deep or how shallow it is, you're talking 6 to 8 inches of roll, and then acoustics, and then feel and vibration, plus what toe hang. I mean, it's pretty wild to think, like, from an engineering standpoint, you could do everything perfect, but just based off the material and the face of the putter, it can affect a golf ball 6 to 8 inches. And from a target, like left to right, 4 to 8 inches, just based off of milling pattern, toe hang. I mean, it was pretty incredible to see.
And obviously, what's the goal, Kyle? To get the ball rolling as fast as possible.
And online.
Yep.
Yeah, online is a big thing. But I say it's just funny that taking it back to what we see in our club fittings, how in our fittings, the majority of the people we fit, how much do they? Well, and Kyle's going to be a little bit different because he's mainly where you specialize in putter fitting. But when we go through and we do a fitting and we get to a putter, and what we hear a lot of times,
My putter's good.
my putter's good.
Yeah, don't need to look at it. It's just a putter.
Or they go and look at putters and, I can't spend that on a putter, right? But what does it come down to? What are we talking about right now in tournament performance is when it matters is putting. Doesn't matter how well you strike the ball. You still got to
if you
get the
play
ball
a
in
good
the
round of golf, it's 63% of your score is putting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's the most important club in your bag. So not to pick on anybody, but the 7 drivers you've bought in 2 years chasing 5 yards, it making that hole go in the...
You don't have to single me out like that, Kyle.
well,
7 drivers, you've had 10.
We've
We've already talked about this.
2
but
heads, but like 12 shafts, okay, Nikki?
But he's playing a set of irons from the year 2000.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
He has a whole new bag. He's just not... The oldest clubs in his bag are his wedges.
yeah, so kind of in the
Wow.
background what I did.
Yeah, he changed it up on you while you were away.
He
Well,
sure did.
Really? Well, I guess
Yes.
it was after we
Yeah.
played that
Yes.
Super Bowl thing. But
By the way, can we get signed up for that again?
Absolutely. February 10th, Saturday.
But I knew going into this year, my goal was to play more golf. And when I say play, I mean play more tournament golf. So I knew that was my goal. With some of the events I had circled on my calendar that I wanted to play, the condition of competition is in effect. So the groove rule's in effect, which I think a lot of people don't realize. But for a lot of tournaments, that's not in effect.
Right.
And my irons from the year 2000 are technically non-conforming to those rules.
So every time he beat me with them,
We didn't have the groove rule in effect.
yeah,
like
the
cheating.
groove rule is now in effect and you
Yep.
lost.
There you go.
So I knew I needed to get a set or build a set of irons to be legal for those competitions. I had the option. I could have sent my old irons in to the USGA and had them approved for play, which, I mean, if I send them in, they would get approved. They don't have grooves on them anyway. But I just don't feel like doing that.
Well,
being
it's
totally
almost impossible to figure out how because you call the USGA and they're like, find your local USGA representative. It's like, well, you can't just tell me.
Yeah.
But
So
that
was where that started.
Yeah.
It's another talk for another day.
Yeah.
But I would say, other than cutting my putter, my bag's been set for a long time.
I think that's good.
Have even switched to new irons, even though I have the option to. So,
Not till January.
When I was in college, I used to think, what is new? The new, it's the best thing out there. And as you guys have helped me with, this is my 3rd set of the TaylorMade 760 heads because I know how they interact with the ground, the turf. I don't want to move from that. You're learning something totally different. So the fact that you've got your bag set up, it's only adding predictability to your game.
well,
versus
that's
constantly
ultimately
changing.
what it comes down to. Like, I know what every miss is with every club in my bag, even down to the putter. So, yes, I might make tweaks here and there. I finally essentially said I'm tired of trying to change my swing to get the toe more on the ground. I'm just going to bend my clubs flat as hell. So what I do, I bent my clubs 5 degrees flat because it's gotten to the point where it's almost impossible for me to change my swing.
And they're still not flat enough.
They're still, I got it to within a degree.
You need a hockey
dynamically.
stick.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, but that's how far low and left I swing the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we made that change when I was playing full time to not hook the ball. So, like, I know if I'm back hooking it, then I'm dumping that club underneath. That heel's just like this, or the toe of the club's just straight up in the air. So it's like,
The toe smiling back at you.
yeah. So I'm always tweaking. I mean, I will get new irons. I finally found a new iron shaft I want to put in my clubs.
Okay.
Just wait until I get new heads to do it. So
Yeah.
right now, there's really no need.
Yeah.
But now, Kayla, are you good for a little conspiracy?
I'm here.
Okay. So obviously, a lot of craziness going around in the golf world, right? So hear me out. this TGL League, whatever the hell it is the new Fyre Fest. You guys remember what the Fyre Fest was?
Refresh us.
Fyre Fest was some type of festival that this guy was putting on.
Say it 5 times fast.
No, no, out in Bermuda or whatever, some island. He sold tickets. He and then they showed up. There was no running water. The tents were like little shanties, and he
sold them a scam. Basically.
Yeah, he scam and stuff.
Is he in prison now?
I think he did go to prison. Yeah, but he got sued and for all his money. Netflix did a documentary about it. I think this new Tiger League or whatever this little team league is the exact same timeline of stuff is kind of happening.
Are you saying that the roof collapse was not an act of nature?
No.
Oh boy.
Why are you putting up in South Florida on the East Coast, which is notoriously bad weather,
right?
Windy, putting up like a canopy?
Well, that's the part that's confusing is you've got millions of dollars of computers,
the richest
monitors
golfers in the world.
They're using the full swing simulators, which we use here for fitting. Like you've got millions of dollars in technology, and we're going to secure it with an inflatable roof.
Basically under a tent.
Correct. And not an actual structure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just funny how things have kind of like lined up. It was like a couple big name players pulled out, right? John Rahm, some other guys pulled out of the league. And then you have all the teams finally getting like pulled together and the names coming out. Like you have the Atlanta team, the Boston, whatever they call it, team, and they're doing all their media tours. And then quiet, you don't hear much for a week. Then you have their entire stadium collapse. Now it's, we might not come on until 2025.
So if it was, why did it collapse then? Like, if it's not,
they knew the product wasn't going to work,
right? So who's trying to undermine it then?
I mean,
Greg Norman.
He's got some properties in that
the
area.
PGA Tour paid for a lot of it.
Right.
Like, these are like people don't realize the PGA Tour did create this with TGL. So like that's why they're pushing it big time. But ultimately, they really didn't have anything going for it. I think the post that they put up of Keegan, Rory, and them throwing a baseball at Fenway Park to celebrate their team, it only had like 100 likes or something like that.
I mean, I'll be honest.
But the thing is, like,
I haven't cared one bit at all.
But that's the whole point. You ask someone, "What's this TGL thing?" They're going to say, "I have no clue."
Yeah, nobody knows.
And it was supposed to start this January. It was supposed to start the second week of January, right after the Century. But what these events are also going to do is all the players that played in the Sony Open, like Justin Thomas has notoriously always played in the Sony Open. He was now not going to be at that tournament to go play in this little simulator league. Wow. So I'm just thinking it's just weird how the timelines worked out. You really don't know what's going on. And then what essentially told them that they're not going to do anything until 2025 was their building collapsing.
We should look at their insurance policy, see what they took out.
Do you think Monahan has his name on the insurance policy?
Probably. I bet you the PGA Tour does.
I don't know. I think that these professional athletes on the PGA Tour were just trying to find another way to entertain their fans. And it's just unfortunate that this happened.
You're such a liar.
So let's talk about the entertainment of that.
Yes.
Do you think that would be entertaining to watch golfers hit into, if I'm understanding this correctly, basically like a net and you watch the ball fly on a screen?
They were supposedly going to have somehow, some way, have like a 30-foot green, a bunker, rough, and then some shots go into. That's how they described it.
Yeah.
Do I think that's entertaining? No.
No.
I was going to say, it just doesn't sound like...
Golf is just not a sport you can put in a stadium.
I don't
Baseball,
think so.
football, tennis.
Yeah.
Basketball, how many sports can you play? Right. Golf, you need acres.
Yeah.
You need to see the ball fly. TrackMan has come out with the next tour where professional golfers can play. Don't.
No,
Are you kidding me? I need to see the ball fly. I need to see
not
the
an
shape
algorithm.
of the hole.
You need to see ball flight, not
You
algorithm.
tell me what's 30 yards. I don't know. But here, let me hit one. And, that's 30 yards. I probably would have said that was 50.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much feel and visuals to this game. People show up to events to watch golfers shape shots, see it fly. You're going to lose that with this TGL league.
Well, I think what and to my point, maybe I'm old fashioned in thinking this. I don't idolize really many golfers anymore, but I have golfers I love to watch. And the PGA Tour and what all these media companies are trying to make it seem like is I love these golfers because of their personalities. No, I love how they hit the golf ball, right? So like right now, the kid that won down at Sea Island, Ludwig, who played in the Ryder Cup, he went 61-61 on the weekend. I don't know anything about him, but watching him hit a driver is insanely impressive.
Watching him play golf in general. 61,
I love
61 is fun to watch.
Adam Scott. I love watching Adam Scott hit a golf ball because his golf swing looks like it was made in a lab. Right? I could care less what they do or what they talk about, how their personalities are. And I think in our Netflix day and age where we've had
Drive to Survive,
Full Swing, Drive to Survive,
Yes,
the F1 Netflix Cup, that was terrible before the Las Vegas race. They're trying to make it seem like the marketability of the PGA Tour or professional golf in general is the actual like personalities of the players, not the actual substance of the game. Now, yes, the best players in the world are still really good, but the whole point of this TGL is to make it seem like they bring something bigger to the table other than their golf. It's like, no, their golf is plenty. And maybe I'm just old fashioned in thinking that, but it sounds like you're kind of the same thing. Like you need to see a golf ball. You need to see a ball flight. What makes the best in the world is they're controlling the ball every
Also, the
single
TGL
time.
series is definitely targeted towards trying to find new fans to the game.
Why?
I think, and this is totally off topic, but I think golf in general, we too often forget about, we try to grow the game, but we too often forget about our core audience, our current golfers, and maintaining or keeping those golfers.
I don't know how much more and there's so many different ways to bring new golfers to the game, right? But I just don't think professional golf is one of those avenues that has to be at the forefront of it. It's the job of a golf professional to grow the game, right? That work at clubs, things like that. It's not the job of Kayla, who's playing for her livelihood, to grow the game. Now, you do plenty of things. You help out a lot of charities, things like that to help. But at the same time, these golfers are out there making a living. And it brings to my point, too, it's a perfect example, is you had a media guy essentially use the play better thing at Lonto Griffin, because Lonto Griffin came out and said, it's essentially going to be impossible for me to get inside the top 70 now with the PGA Tour rules, is because you have first place winning a limited event or limited field event getting 200 more points than a regular PGA Tour event.
Right.
And then you have a media guy go, well, just play better. It's like, well, technically, under the baseline that's been this way for many years, he's played better to get to the PGA Tour. He deserves to be out there. But now the PGA Tour has cut it in half and said, these players deserve this. The other half, you're essentially at a...
Yeah, they moved the goalposts.
They moved the goalposts. For no reason, I would say.
Well, to elevate their superstars. I mean, like you say, they're trying to sell the personalities of their superstars.
And I mean, perfect. I said his name already, but Justin Thomas, he finished in the 80th. Whatever.
You can't grow your superstars if they don't play every week, right?
But
so they got to be in those events.
Technically speaking, he didn't qualify to get inside the top 50 that are guaranteed next year.
Right.
But how many exemptions do you think he has?
He'll play whatever event he wants to play in.
Every single one.
Yeah.
And that's because he's doing this Netflix Cup, or he's doing this
He's marketable.
TGL, right? He's marketable.
That's what they say about Danny Ricciardo. He's marketable.
He's been driving good, though.
Yeah.
But that's my little rant. I'm just saying,
I think that's a good point.
And it's just, I think we kind of forget that professional golfers got there because of their playing ability.
Right.
It's not politics. No one can BS their way onto any professional tour, right? And I think now they're trying to make it seem like the guys that are the funniest and things like that, now that they have more cameras in their face.
Have the biggest social media
following. They deserve a little more because they bring more to the table. It's like, no, every professional golfer that's in that PGA Tour event brings the same thing. They tee up a little white ball and they hit it down the fairway. It's which one does it the best. That's the marketability. Use that TrackMan Simulator League if you want to create something and find other personalities to do it.
But then they can't make money off of that.
Oh yeah.
That's why we got to build a stadium. It's just unfortunate our roof collapsed.
Well, you hear what's going to happen in 2025. 2025, PGA Tour is going to the sponsors. Sponsors have to come up with the money to elevate the purses. So PGA Tour doesn't have any money.
That's a topic for another
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, that's just part of this whole rant. But I just think it's gotten to a point where do professional golfers play golf, or are they essentially now TV personalities. Are we watching the Kardashians?
They're trying to be both, I guess.
Yeah.
You know.
So do you want to review?
Sorry,
we're
Kayla, for you having to deal with that.
We're going into our show and tell segment. Do you want to tell Kayla how to make a grade?
Yeah. So, all right, Kayla, we have a segment we've been working on. We're calling it show and tell.
All right.
So we're going to call Miles our producer Miles.
We're going to shorten it to 3.
3.
Okay. So he's going to show us a collection of images, golf related.
Okay.
Could be anything. And our job is to rank those. We've got our ranking system based off of basically score, par, birdie, bogey. Essentially, par, birdie, bogey is cool, but par it's not moving the needle for us. Bogey is cool, but not our cup of tea. Birdie is it's cool, and we like this. And then on the ends of that, we have our flushed, and we call it duff, or is it shank? I forget now. It's been a couple weeks.
It sucks.
Yeah,
Bad.
Like whatever
Okay.
you-
shank
All
is
right.
it's bad. Total miss. Flushed is it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first off, there's so many irons in that bag. It looks extremely heavy. Gatorade, I mean, that's cool. I don't think I've ever seen a bag like that, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely vintage. I don't think I would want to carry that.
Looks like that's just a. Would you use that as a display piece? Some decor
Yeah,
in
that
your
goes in-
house?
I said this looks
That
like
goes
a
in the
golf house
corner of like a
or golf room
garage.
I think
decor,
that's what
yeah.
it is. It's just not really in that complete corner there. You can tuck it in a little more.
Somebody with OCD out there is going nuts.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say it's a par for me.
Par for
I
you.
like the retro stuff. I just think old school looks cool. And, you got OG Gatorade logo, old school Mizunos,
Yeah.
OG Nikes, some VIPs with some BB&F codes. So I like it as a display piece. I wouldn't carry it, but as a display piece, I think it's cool.
I haven't.
I mean, you'd think this is right up my alley, but I don't. The green's awful.
You don't even want to hear what I have to say?
Oh, you went?
No.
I thought you'd already.
Have you got? Do you
You
guys
said
drink
back the corner.
Gatorade much anymore?
No,
No.
That's why it's a
I said
bogey.
it's a bogey.
Miss. I mean, that's just my whole thing. Gatorade. I just remember like
I want the VIPs and MP14s. I will say that.
I'm just saying bogey because no one drinks Gatorade anymore.
Yeah, it's an awful
I
color.
love me a good Gatorade towel though.
White and green, no good. Bogey.
Remember the Gatorade towels from footballs.
Good for you though.
Next.
Good old Kyle at Golf Garage, the Damascus engraving.
That's a double bogey for me.
Yes.
I like it.
Not, I mean, Mizuno, great, but whatever that is on the back, that's a big old no.
Randy Jackson, he said it best. That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, bogey. I don't
This
like
is,
that.
yeah.
That's a
Spot
miss.
on. No, actually,
That's-
no,
I
that's
don't even know what that's supposed to be. Like
a
it doesn't
shank.
even look good.
It's laser etching engraving. It's meant to look like
Looks like it's from
Damascus,
the 80s.
but it just doesn't. I can't stand laser engraving.
Especially on chrome. Like, if
Yeah.
it was a different color, maybe, but
Well,
chrome on
Mizuno's
that is just
chrome too is
It's bright.
polished,
Yeah.
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 Very nice.
Yeah, Shane.
Shank, very good.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, once you said double bogey, that's past bogey.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Steve Irwin would love this.
Yeah, it's
That is
bogey.
making a statement.
Nope. Shank, big shank,
Wow.
huge shank. Like, don't even come to the golf course because you ate Taco Bell.
I just
last
hope
night,
I just hope they have the belt to match if they show up
And
with that
shoes.
bag.
I mean, we got to
Yeah,
see the shoes
exactly.
inside the shoe bag, right?
Yeah, that's a no for me.
Don't like get.
What are you trying to make it seem like we're just a negative podcast?
He found every disgusting
I'm
photo
gonna
this
say
morning.
I'm gonna say shoe bag is a flush. Shoe bag is pretty baller. Okay.
Yeah, I said the shoe bag's cool.
The golf
I'll
bag.
give you that.
That'd be for
absolutely not.
$200.
That's not a $200
That's not
shoe bag.
no. That's try to pump them numbers up.
No, so the bag with the shoe bag and head covers, it's like, I think it's $2,500, and it's only available through the TaylorMade Plus app that you have to subscribe for.
Uh-huh.
So another online exclusive from a vendor.
I would say shoe bag, flush, golf bag, all together. Par. The idea is there. It's just execution.
Yeah, I'm gonna say par. I think if you had a little bit of color to break up the black,
I agree.
it'd be cool.
I think if you did
if it
something
weren't
like
an online exclusive, it'd be cooler. I think.
I mean, if you shoot
I wouldn't mind
65
too,
every time,
like a
maybe.
dark gray croc. I always like
Yeah.
like when you use belts and things like that. A dark
Or just
gray.
natural croc.
Yeah, For
you
sure.
know, like
Or
I
even
said
do
those,
the
like,
Cayman,
yeah,
which is a little like white
almost
brown.
green kind of.
I think it's a load of crop.
But no, I like Gator, but yeah, it's just too much black.
Gator needs his get. Sorry.
Yeah, say, and Gator needs his gat. But we're gonna go par. So they finally figured out what Stonehenge was for.
You levitate if you make a birdie.
Is that the thing from like Outlander around the green?
You don't know what Stonehenge is?
I'm sorry, no.
Kayla.
All right, historian.
I mean,
Explain.
nobody knows what it is. It's a rock formation.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and most likely aliens placed the rocks there.
Well,
Allegedly.
That's a different now. Hear me out segment.
I'm going to say flush because any Scottish golf course I would love to play.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
Stonehenge is in Scotland, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wanted to make sure.
I mean,
It's on the
I think
British
it's cool.
Isles either way. You think it's cool?
If I saw it, I'd be like, what is going on here? But I'd probably take a picture.
Yeah. I'd say it's pretty funny. I'm gonna give it a birdie.
Oh. Coming soon.
I'm glad I like my equipment.
Yeah. Well, the one in the top left, that'll probably be on closeout in 2 weeks for 70% off. But
Come on, Kyle.
the one in the top right, that's the 10K. I actually hit that last week. It's going to be a pretty awesome driver. It's a blend of the LST and the Max, so it's a low spinning, forgiving driver. So that's pretty cool.
Now, what's the 1K mean?
It's the level of MOI.
Okay.
So with Ping, they have this kind of cult classic now, the G400 Max, that all these guys and girls on tour still play. It's basically the updated version of that, except it's got the full carbon fly wrap, so carbon crown. And the sound of this compared to the Max is so much better. But it's really cool because it's so much more stable. You can have that toe miss, and it's not going to knuckle at 800 like the LST would, and so it'll be sweet.
So you're saying a bogey?
No.
Okay.
Top rights, and then honestly, the Cobra shocked us when we saw that 2 weeks ago. I was pretty happy with the way they looked.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's about time.
Here's why I'm not happy. They should have never changed the LTDX.
Yeah.
Aerospeed, dark speed.
So I would say this is obviously
I don't-
mostly birdie.
I think the Cobra looks good. My only thing is we've already seen the top of the Cobra. It's all matte, and it looks like the first generation of PXGs and Pings that came out of like the Ping was it a K15 or something like that.
Yeah, G20.
And it's going to scratch. Like the first thing I said was like, "What's you guys' warranty policy on crown scratches?" Because like even the one we saw, the head cover came off and it was
Yeah, a little,
scratching.
little
But,
marred.
I mean, I don't know why Cobra was coming out with a new driver. It's like Aerojet's been out for 6 months.
It's been out a whole year though.
As far as the TaylorMade goes, it's going to be a flush if it's anything better than the Stealth 2. So it's just hopefully that Stealth it can last a little longer than the Stealth 2.
And so I would say I'm gonna give it a birdie for right now.
Yeah.
Results pending until we get them in hand and can test
Obviously, we're going to test all three except the PXG.
them. Yeah.
But I think Cobra, I expect it to be fast, ball speed wise.
Kind of interested to see with the new TaylorMade driver what it is. Mm-hmm. Like changing the name to something totally different.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
what's the story behind that?
Are you playing the Stealth 2 or the Stealth?
The Stealth.
The regular Stealth.
Yep. The first
Yeah.
one.
The one
Yeah.
with good glue.
Yeah, I was going to say the one that everyone was.
But it is my second one.
Well, the funny thing about this QI10 is like Rory this past week. They asked him, they're like, so you got a new driver in the back? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna test it. I still want to win the tournament, but I mean, we're gonna see how. Like, it was a perfect setup for him to be like
Switch
it's
back into
awesome.
the old driver.
It was a perfect like for him to market the driver. Like
Right.
they were trying to get him to market TaylorMade's new driver. He's just
Yeah.
like, eh.
As I said,
I was like, geez, the guy you're paying $100 million just completely missed the mark there.
yeah. And so we gotta get them in hand, test them, and see. But minus the PXG is birdie.
I will say real quick, Miles, why? So with the weight being this far towards the toe of the club, it's draw and fade. How much weight is down here?
Got to be a good bit.
There's some hot melt, and I think when you slide that down, it actually goes into
It
the
probably
cavity.
goes inside the
Yeah.
cavity though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's like the 3-wood.
Yeah,
of the Stealth Plus.
A little bit more CG based.
Gotcha.
Wow.
I mean, look forward to seeing them. Expect them around January.
Yeah.
So, is that the last one?
Cool.
Awesome. Well, if you guys haven't already, like and subscribe to the page. Turn on those push bell notifications. Thanks for coming in, and congrats on a amazing end to this year. And we look forward to hopefully seeing some trophies.
Sweet.
This
In
year.
the future,
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.